Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaranari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaranari Yashoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balava Girivaranari Yashoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading today from the Srimad-bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 1, Text 14. The chapter is called The Manus, Administrators of the Universe. Pull this out of the microphone a little closer, maybe those who are watching this can hear better. Hear the. Yes. Okay. Atagre Rishaya Karman Ihante Karma Hetave Ihamano Hi Purusha Prayo Nihan Prapajate Atagre Vishaya Karman Ihante Karma Hetave Ihamano Hi Purusha Prayo Nitang Prapajate Atagre Vishaya Karman Ihante Karma Hetave Ihamano Hi Purusha Prayo Nitang Prapajate Atagre Rishaya Karman Atagre Rishaya Karman Ihante Karma Hetave Ihamano Hi Purusha Prayo Nitang Prapajate Atagre Vishaya Karman Ihante Karma Hetave Ihamano Hi Purusha Prayo Nitang Prapajate Atagre Vishaya Karman Ihante Karma Hetave Ihamano Hi Purusha Prayo Nitang Prapajate Atagre Vishaya Karman Ihante Karma Hetave Ihamano Hi Purusha Prayo Nitang Prapajate Ata Therefore Agre in the beginning Rishaya all learned rishis saintly persons Karmani fruit of activities Ihante execute Akarma freedom from fruitive results Hetave for the purpose of Ihemanaha engaging in such activities He indeed Purushaha a person Prayaha almost always Aniham liberation from karma Prapajate attains. Translation. Therefore, to enable people to reach the stage of activities that are not tinged by fruitive results, great saints first engage people in fruitive activities. For unless one begins by performing activities as recommended in the Shastras, one cannot reach the stage of liberation or activities that produce no reactions. Repeat after me. Therefore, to enable people to reach the stage of activities that are not tinged by fruitive results, great saints first engage people in fruitive activities. For unless one begins by performing activities as recommended in the Shastras, one cannot reach the stage of liberation or activities that produce no reactions. Srila Prabhupada's purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 9, Lord Krishna advises, Yagartat karano nyatra loko yang karma bandhanaha. Quote, work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. End quote. Generally, everyone is attracted to hard labor for becoming happy in this material world. But although various activities are going on all over the world simply for the sake of happiness, unfortunately, only problems are being created from such fruitive activities. Therefore, it is advised that active persons engage in activities of Krishna consciousness, which are called yajna, because they will gradually come to the platform of devotional service. Yajna means Lord Vishnu. The Yajna Purusha, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, Bhoktarang Yajna Tapasam Sarvam Loka Maheshwaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually the enjoyer, and therefore, if we begin our activities for His satisfaction, we will gradually lose our taste for material activities. Sutta Goswami declared to the great assembly of sages at Naimisharanya, Atak Pumbir Dvija Shreshta Varnashrama Vibhargashaha Swanushthitasya Dharmasya Sangsidir Haritoshanam. Quote, O best among the twice born, it is concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging his prescribed duties, dharma, according to caste and divisions and order of life, is to please Lord Hari. That's from the Srimad-bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, 13th verse. Very important verse. According to Vedic principles, everyone must act according to his classification as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, or Sannyasi. Everyone should progress toward perfection by acting in such a way that Krishna will be pleased. Sang Siddhir Haritoshanam. One cannot please Krishna by sitting idly. One must act according to the directions of the spiritual master for the sake of pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then one will gradually come to the stage of pure devotional service. As confirmed in the Srimad-bhagavatam, 1st canto, 5th chapter, 12th verse, Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhava varjitam shobjate jnanam alang niranjanam. Quote, knowledge of self-realization, even even though freed from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. Sorry. Jnanis recommend that one adopt Naishkarmya by not doing anything but simply meditating and thinking of Brahman. This is Jnanis. Jnanis recommend that one adopt Naishkarmya by not doing anything but simply meditating and thinking of Brahman. But this is impossible unless one realizes Para-Brahman, Krishna. If there is no Krishna consciousness, any kind of activity, be it philanthropic, political, or social, simply causes karma bandhana, bondage to the material work. As long as one is entangled in karma bandhana, one must accept different types of bodies and spoil the human form of facility. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 3, karma yoga is recommended. Aru Shor Muner Yogang Karma Karanam Uchate Yoga Rudrasya Tashyaiva Shama Karanam Uchate. Quote, for one who is a neophyte in the yoga system, work is said to be the means. And for one who has already attained yoga, cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Nonetheless, karmendriyani sangyamya sa aste manasa smaram indriyartam vimudatma Jatara sa uchate. Quote, one who restrains the senses and organs of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 6. One should act for Krishna very seriously in order to become fully Krishna conscious and should not sit down to imitate such great personalities as Haridas Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur condemned such imitation. He said, Dushta mana tumi kishera Vaishnava pratishtara tare nirjanera kare tava hari nama kevala kaitava. Quote, my dear mind, what kind of a devotee are you? Simply for cheap adoration, you sit in a solitary place and pretend to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But this is all cheating. End quote. Recently at Mayapur, an African devotee wanted to imitate Haridas Thakur. But after 15 days, he became restless and went away. Do not suddenly try to imitate Haridas Thakur. Engage yourself in Krishna conscious activities, and gradually you will come to the stage of liberation. Muktir hitvan nyata rupang swarupena vyastitahi. Wow. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. There are many points here, and I don't think we can hardly cover everything in one class, in reality. But, okay, so read the translation again. Therefore, to enable people to reach the stage of activities that are not tinged by fruitive results, great saints first engage people in fruitive activities. For unless one begins by performing activities as recommended in the Shastras, one cannot reach the stage of liberation or activities that produce no reaction. So it actually without the purport, it sounds, the translation sounds kind of strange, because if, therefore, to engage, enable people to reach the stage of activities not tinged by fruitive activities, they have to engage in fruitive activities, right? So, but this is the Varnashram system. This is Varnashram system. So everyone in Varnashram system, and we don't really have full Varnashram system in Kali Yuga, because it's not going to work in this age. But in the Varnashram system, Varna Ashram means there's four Varnas, which are the social orders, right? So the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And then there are four spiritual orders: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. And everyone had one of each. You were maybe you were a Brahmana, maybe you're inclined as Brahmana and you're a Brahmachari, or maybe you're inclined as Brahmana and you're a Grihastha, like that. So both were there, the social orders and the spiritual orders. And in every order of life, then there were certain rules and regulations, or certain guidelines like that, certain sacrifices. Grihastha had a lot of sacrifices, and I guess every Kshatriyas, they had their position where they had power, but they also had, came time of war, the Kshatriya king, he was out leading the army. It wasn't like in modern times when the commander-in-chief is sitting in an office there and telling somebody else to take care of things. Then the king would actually go out and fight, like that. So there were sacrifices and on every level, and many people in Varnashram system, they worshiped demigods, and they did so many things for fruitive results. But all those activities for fruitive results, even though the worship of the demigods, they all include in their mantras and their rituals and so on. They all, Lord Vishnu is always in there somewhere. And because Lord Vishnu is in there, in the mix, so to speak, then by they're on one hand they're engaging in the fruitive activities and getting their fruitive results, but they're also remembering Vishnu, and by doing that over time, maybe over lifetimes, they're gradually becoming a little bit more elevated, and gradually they can come to the point where they say, hey, I need a spiritual master. I need a spiritual master. You get some faith in the spiritual master, and then you go, and then you can actually start. And the spiritual master will tell you to engage in devotional service. So that's the system. So in this Varnashram system, they start off with fruitive activities tinged with a little bit of Krishna or Vishnu, and then in due course of time, we call it Agyata Sukriti. That's what it's called. Agyata Sukriti means pious activities that are performed without one knowing it. So you're performing the activities to get the material things you want, but at the same time, there's because Vishnu or Krishna is mentioned in there in the rituals and the sacrifices. So because of that, you're getting another kind of pious result. There are three kinds of pious results that one can get, and they're actually all mentioned in this purport. So there's for the karmi actually means one who's following the rules and regulations of the Vedas, but for fruitive results. Karmi means that you're doing all these sacrifices, you're performing all these rituals and so on, for the purpose of creating a better material situation for you in the future, maybe future lifetime, maybe going to the heavenly planets or something. You're creating that. So that's actually what karmi means. We may say in general public who are engaged in a lot of not good activities for the most part, we may say karmi, but actually it's vikarmi, because vikarmi means that you are engaged in activities against the principles of the Vedas, activities which will degrade oneself. But in the varnashram system, under a good king, then everyone was required, they were forced practically, to engage in activities that would elevate them gradually. Maybe slow elevation is a slow process, but they would get elevated towards very slowly, gradually becoming Krishna conscious. So anyway, the pious activities, we're talking about pious activities, so that for the karmi, in the real sense, karmi, the pious activities are coming because Lord Vishnu is mentioned in the sacrifices, and so little by little, slowly, they're getting that results that will help them to elevate themselves more. And then at one point, after some portion of those karmis, they come to the point they say, hey, these fruitive activities are a waste. So that's what Srila Prabhupada's writing here. For the jnani, the jnanis are thinking, let me just give up all activities. I have so much problem with everything I do in the material world, trying to enjoy. It causes me so much problem. So better I don't do anything, and I just give up all activities, and then I meditate on the super soul. All right, meditate on the conclusion of the jnanis generally is they end up being impersonal understanding, at least in the beginning. So that's why Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, what's that word? That verse? Manushanam sahasreshu yatati siddhaye. Don't remember the last two lines, but it means that out of many thousands of men, women, saying in the general sense, out of many thousands of men, hardly one endeavors for perfection. I mean, something beyond the material, just gross material sense gratification. Hardly one endeavors for perfection. And of those who endeavor for perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So you can see how difficult it is to come to the point of actually pure devotional service. So most people are engaged in fruitive activities, lifetime after lifetime. After some time, they become tired of it. It's to say, hey, I've been doing this and doing this and doing this, and I'm not getting anywhere. So these fruitive activities are no good. Now I want to reject all these fruitive activities. I'm just going to meditate on something that's not material. And then they do. They try to. That's the level of jnana yoga. And then, and the jnanis, if they perfect their jnana, or if they don't go beyond jnana, the jnana yoga level, and they perfect what they're trying to do, they may merge in the Brahmajyoti. So they get their freedom from material activities for a while, only for a while. But of those who have endeavored for perfection, meaning referring to the jnanis, very few at anyone. Jai Shri Gaura-Nitai, Shri Radha Vrija Bihari, Jagannath, Balaram, Lady Subhadra, Shrigadev Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Very few of them go beyond that, they come to the point of actual devotional service. So, and when one would get enough pious activities, another kind of pious activities. First pious activities helps one to go to the heavenly planets and so on. Second kind of pious activities helps one to go to the Brahma Jyoti. And the third kind of pious activities, the one that we would be interested in, is the one that is enhancing our devotional service. So just like devotees may go out on Harinam Sankirtan, for example. So people are passing by and either thinking whether these nice people or thinking these crazy people, whatever, they're hearing the chanting, right? They're hearing the chanting. So they're getting a certain kind of pious results, which will be favorable for their advancement in spiritual life. They may not be immediately seeing the results of it. They won't immediately see the results of it. I was told, I wasn't there, but some devotees who were originally in the Boston Temple, it's kind of Boston Temple, were told a story, and I always remember this because it was very instructive. There was a lady who, the devotees would always stay in one spot and chant every day. They in one spot because they weren't being told like we are here that you got to keep moving all the time. But they would stay in one particular place and they were chanting, and morning to night, chanting. And then there was one lady who she had to walk past that area every day, maybe going to work or somehow she had to pass by it every day on the other side of the street. And she would she hated the chanting. She couldn't tolerate hearing the chanting, but she couldn't get away from it. She had to pass by that way every time. So she was tolerating it. Sometimes she would even go by and throw things at the devotees, and she was upset. But she had to keep passing by there every day for years like this. And then at one point she felt a little attracted. She stopped and listened a little bit, And then after she started listening a little bit more, and even trying to chant a little bit, And in due course of time, then she finally, after years, she got interested enough and wanted to go to the temple and gave some donation and got some books, and and became a devotee herself like that. So that's the best kind of pious activity, the one that helps you to advance on the spiritual path. So this is the kind of activity that we do. Just like Srila Prabhupada says, you go out and sell books, and somebody just touches the book, then it will help them become Krishna conscious, even if they don't get the book. Because we don't want to just stop there. We should understand what it is anyway. They're touching the book, or they're hearing a little something, or they read a sentence in the book, and they're getting some good. They're feeling good, and they're feeling good because they're getting some actual pious results, Krishna conscious type pious results that will help them. And if someone comes and offers a little service to devotees, so many things can come about. We had in fact, there are many examples. We had one of our previous hurricanes pass by here, and we had tree branches all over the place. So one of our neighbors came over and was with a chainsaw and helped us to chop up the wood so we could get things out of there. So he probably didn't come over because he particularly liked Hare Krishnas, but or maybe he did, but he didn't show like that. But he did offer that help. So he's assisting he's actually assisting in devotional service, right? So as a kid, he didn't know what devotional service was, I would assume, but he he came there and he did something as a pious activity on his part, and because it was in Krishna's service, even without exactly understanding what that was, then he certainly got spiritual benefit. Now, sometimes this builds up over lifetimes, and that's why in this lifetime, and in any one lifetime, so in this lifetime, we're all at different stages of devotional service, because we take it up, and for some we take up, and it's like wow, I feel you're just continuing what you I felt like this is like what I was doing all my life, forever, but we're just starting it. But actually, if we start off like that, it's because we're practicing devotional service previously, or we're along the stage. So in Krishna consciousness, whatever spiritual advancement we make, it is not lost, even from one lifetime to the next. We forget, but Krishna reminds us. And Krishna is in our heart. He's a super soul there. So Lord Krishna says, or actually Arjuna asked, if it says the yogi, if he is engaged, he's engaged in yoga, and if he does not complete his practice of yoga in one lifetime, he drops out. We say bloop. But he gives up his practice of yoga before the end of his life. Then what happens to him? Arjuna is asking. Is he just like a ribbon cloud? A cloud that just falls apart. Is he like that, or what happens? And Arjuna was concerned, or at least he was presenting that he was concerned, because it's a good question. And Lord Krishna says that nothing is lost, but he says Lord Krishna explains that if that person who was practicing yoga, if they gave it up the practice after a little bit, a small amount of advancement, small amount of progress, then but they started, so they gave it up before, without becoming too advanced. Two things could happen. One, because they probably gave it up because of some material desire, chances are. So they can either go to the heavenly planets and enjoy there for thousands of years of our time, and then come back down to the material, to Earth again, and continue on, or they may be born in a very well-to-do family. Because if you're born in a family which is very poor, and you're basically every day you're struggling to just have something to eat, or have a shelter somewhere. You don't know from day to day when's your next meal going to come. You don't know the next day if you're going to have to move to a new place, things like that. It's a struggle. So even if you we're inclined towards spiritual life, it's a struggle, and you cannot really concentrate on anything else, because you're just trying to survive. So someone who made some good spiritual advancement, or a certain amount of spiritual advancement, but stopped earlier than later, let's say, then they either go to the heavenly planets where they can enjoy a lot of sense gratification, and then come back down, hopefully having got the feeling at least that I can have so much sense gratification, but I'm still not satisfied, and then they want to go, and then that won't be as much of a distraction, and then they can take up their spiritual life again. And or they are born in a good family, an aristocratic family, or a family where you get all kinds of, your material facilities are there, and in that way you can concentrate on, you're not distracted by survival mood. You're very you can easily look at something higher, you say, I've got everything, I'm not satisfied. So then you look higher. It says for better results. You got to work. Okay, thanks. Like that. So that's why we see within this movement, of course, some start and take up Krishna consciousness and are, like just go full force from the beginning. And there's others who maybe in and out, struggle a lot to become Krishna conscious because we're at different stages of advancement. But the important thing is that we don't lose that advancement. Whatever advancement we made, we continue. But the only danger is if we become too offensive, and then because of the offense, we may be put in this. Maybe we're held back for a while. Take another birth, we may be held back for a while, and then we cannot take up Krishna consciousness seriously. It's like someone is maybe someone had made some nice advancement before, but they also committed some big offenses before, and they take another birth, and they might be born in a very difficult situation where it's hard to go forward. But anyway, the point is, it's a gradual process, and if we, to the degree that we follow the process of Krishna consciousness, then we will continue to make advancement. And of course, I'm only, those who are hearing this we're all here, and we're all engaged in devotional service. So yes, if we're here and already engaged in devotional service, and for sure, with this knowledge, with the chanting, with the things that we already know, and that we're already doing, if we just continue that, then we can finish up our business in this lifetime, and go back to Godhead. We don't, and we were speaking, I think it was yesterday in the class. There's a nice verse, Bhagavad Gita. I can't remember the Sanskrit, but it basically is saying that if one even if one is fully engaged in devotional service, and even if one who's fully engaged in devotional service falls down or commits the word is actually abominable action, still he is considered saintly. And I was explaining in that class, because it seems like how do you do something really bad and you're still considered saintly? Again, so you have to read the purport. So the understanding is this: that you engage in, if we're first of all fully engaged in devotional service, that means we've actually in our mind I'm dedicating my life to Krishna consciousness. It's a question. It's not just the activity, but the mentality that I've dedicated my life to Krishna consciousness. So then there's some problem. Sometimes it's a fall down. It's one of regular principles or anything. Sometimes we just become angry or something like that. So something comes up, and it's kind of like a fall down or an activity that we shouldn't have done, or should. But our mood is that I've dedicated my life to devotional service, and this is just some problem because of my, it's not Krishna conscious enough yet. So if that happens, then the person the devotee is still considered saintly, because what happens if one who's actually completely dedicated themselves to devotional service, and there's some difficulty like that, what happens is that the first thing that happens as soon as they go down, and the devotee thinks, Krishna, what did I do?
help me to get overcome this kind of problem, this anger or this something with a regulative principle or anything like that. Help me to get over this. Why did I do this? I don't. This is not making me happy. This is not good for you, for pleasing you. So you immediately that repentance is a purification. It's not like in the Vedic times you did something wrong and then there's all kinds of heavy things with fasting and going to all the places of pilgrimage in India and all these kind of things to get purified of something you did. But if you're engaged fully in devotional service, you don't do that. You don't have to do that. You can, but you don't have to. What you do is first of all you feel repentant, and that repentance is actually the purification, and then just keep engaging in devotional service, and it's finished. It's finished. The problem is finished. So the idea is you're engaged in devotional service. There's a little, you say, bump in the road, and then but you continue engaging in devotional service. So it's devotional. It's like if you see you're out on the highway and you see a car coming down US 1, coming really fast. But from a distance, they're coming slow. They appear to be coming slow, faster, 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 faster. And then there's a split second they're right in front of you, if you're standing on the side of the road, and then they're gone. So it's like that. It's like in time, in eternal time, we may be spending we dedicate our life to devotional service, and there's a little bump in the road in the middle of all that, or maybe many bumps in the road, but there's a bump in the road, but then we're still engaged in devotional service. So because one's engaged in devotional service and is continued to be engaged in devotional service, then that's why such a person is considered to be saintly, even if there's been some problem. That's the principle here. It's the power. Srila Prabhupada explains it's the power of devotion. This shows the power of devotional service. Devotional service is not material pious activities. It's actually devotional. It's different. It's on a spiritual level. So that if we're engaged in devotional service, and someone might think, oh, I messed up. I got to give it up. I got to finish. No more spiritual life. I can't. I couldn't do it right. No, you continue on and on and on and on. And if we can continue on till the end of the life, and we can chant our rounds and follow the principles and all that, and we continue on in our devotional service till the end, even if there's some bumps in the road, but at the end we're still engaged in devotional service, then what happens? If we manage to do that and kept the right attitude, that there's another verse. What's that verse? Somehow my mind's not working with Sanskrit today, but there's a verse it's the 10th canto, spoken by Lord Brahma in his prayers to Lord Krishna, and he is it's chapter 8 or chapter 14. Anyway, the essence of the verse is that Lord Brahma is saying that so if one goes on with devotional service, and he's feeling that his that he's tolerating the different difficulties that we go through in life, but he continues on in his devotional service, and he's feeling or understanding and feeling that I'm undergoing these kind of difficulties in life because of my past improper activities, but he still continues on. If he continues on like that, by the end of his life, until the end of his life, then he becomes the rightful heir of the spiritual world, which is another way of saying he can go back to God, which is what Srila Prabhupada said in so many ways. He said, you chant 16 rounds a day, you follow all the four regular principles, you keep engaged in devotional service, and you just do this, and by the end of your life, if you do that until the end of your life, you will go back home, back to Godhead. And we may be getting older and older and older and thinking, still, mine's still growing crazy. But we're chanting the rounds, we're following the principles, we've dedicated our life to Krishna service. So Srila Prabhupada's promise is that we do that until the end, then we become qualified to go back home, back to Godhead. You found the verse?
I think that's the one you were talking about.
Yes, it. Yeah. Tate nukampang su samikshamano punjana evatma kritang vipakam. Kridvagva purbir vididam namaste jiveta yogukti padesa dayapak. Dayapak means the like the inheritance to it means to inherit something. So dayapak. Dayapak, the rightful heir, is what it means. It's verse, it's Canto 10, chapter 14, verse 8. So now I'll read the translation the way I was supposed to be. My dear Lord, this is Lord Brahma speaking in his prayers to the Lord Krishna. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances within his heart. Within his heart, words and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Means he's the right, Dayabhak means he becomes like the rightful heir. And in the purport it says how just like a man when he gives it in his will or he gives his properties and so on to his son. So when he dies, as long as the son is still alive, then he gets the property. It's automatic. Of course, the father could write something else in his will, but the example's there anyway. So the son automatically inherits the property of the father, and his only qualification the son needs, as far as this analogy goes, is that he has to still be alive himself. He can't accept it. So that's the principle here. We have to remain alive and spiritually alive by keeping engaged in devotional service. So we remain spiritually alive until the end. Then we become, and we're still chanting. We're spiritually alive. Then we become qualified to go back home, back to God. We inherit the spiritual world. We inherit the right to go back to the spiritual world. So that's what that verse means. And that's what Srila Prabhupada gave us, that opportunity to do it. It seems, I've thought before, when I first heard that, I didn't know about this verse particularly at the time, but Srila Prabhupada would say like that, and I would always think to myself, in the my early days, he said, I think, chant 16 rounds a day, so that's maybe 2 hours of chanting, right? And we follow the four regular principles, which doesn't take time. It's just something you don't do. So and if you do that for the rest of your life, you go back home, back to Godhead. I thought, wow, that's pretty good. I got 2 hours. I got 2 hours of work to do. Hare Krishna, and avoid these other things, and I go back to Godhead. Wow. But the understanding is that we can, if we are chanting, we have to, but for us to be able to continue chanting, that we have to avoid offenses. We have to keep basically engaged in devotional service, because we're doing nonsense all day and then think we're going to come back in the next morning and chant good 16 rounds. It's not going to happen, right? So we have to, we really have to, the ability to keep chanting and keep following the regular principles means if we are able to do that, we can understand that we are continuing to make spiritual advancement. Because otherwise, if we don't, spiritual life is, how you say, dynamic. Dynamic. So you don't stay in one position, right? In spiritual life, you're either going up or you're going down. If we engage in devotional service, then we'll keep advancing, and if we give it up, if we're not serious, then we go down. But if we're able to chant rounds and we're following the principles and keep engaged in devotional service, continue like that, then we know we're going up. And if we lose all taste for these things, then we're going down. So that's the, like you say, like a barometer. It's like a measuring device that measures our spiritual barometer, measures how we're doing in our spiritual life. But if we can continue, then we will continue to advance. And if we continue until the end, then we will can go back to Godhead. And if we don't continue quite to the end, then we still can take it up and continue it in the future. But we don't really want to take a chance, unnecessarily, take a chance of coming back again. Someone might say, well, I'm not so serious this lifetime. My devotional service will be eating a lot of prasadam. I eat a lot of prasadam and a little chanting Hare Krishna, and then I'll probably take my birth in a good family, and then I'll for sure become serious in the next lifetime. But sometimes devotees take birth in devotee. Someone takes birth in a devotee family, and something happens, and they actually give up Krishna consciousness. So it's not a guarantee, and we're very much affected by association too. So if we get bad association, even if we're practicing Krishna consciousness, we take on bad association, we are affected by that association, and we can become we can lose everything. That's why it says nectar of instruction at one place. One of the 6 principles of, well, there's 2 verses. One that tells what's the 6 principles that are favorable for becoming Krishna conscious, and the other is the next one. Was the 6 activities that destroy our Krishna consciousness. So in the favorable one of the activities is engaging in associating with devotees, right? And the unfavorable one is just the opposite, associating with non-devotees. So an association means basically you're becoming sympathetic to. So you start associating with a non-devotee and start thinking, wow, if I was out there working hard, I could have all these material things that so and so have out there. You start thinking like that, then that you're going to get in problem. So we need to associate with devotees who will give good example, who will give good instruction, who will give a good example to watch and follow, and encourage us in our devotional service and like that. That's the idea. If we associate with others who have other ideas, then it'll hurt our spiritual advancement. So anyway, these are a couple of points here, and I hardly touched most of it, but maybe I'll stop speaking here. Are there any questions? Yeah.
I just wanted to make a quick comment. I mean, there was so much. It was such a nice class, and so, like you said, we could sit here for the next week and cover, probably the next year and cover one verse. So many interesting points in it. But it's interesting how Krishna, like Mother Yamuna's words, Krishna, versus magic. Sometimes even when things happen to us, We don't understand why they're happening, even in devotional service.
Mhm.
So many situations that we encounter. And it's confusing. Wait a minute, what? Chanting, going to class, all the checks are in the boxes are good. But then all of a sudden, still some reaction happens. And so many times, people, you see the audience just, become distracted and disturbed, and they lose their faith. You have to have Shraddha. Shraddha has to be there. No matter what happens, like you were saying, I'm going to stand my guard, and I'm going to do what I need to do, and all these things are going to happen, because they're going to be there. We have this, I listened to a tape yesterday, Father was saying about, even if you try to go to a place and you try to be peaceful, I'm just going to go someplace, I'm just going to be very peaceful. But still, you have the weather, you have the bugs, you have this and that. There's no place peaceful in this material world.
No.
It's not here. It's not here. But I wanted to make a point also on the fact that how, there's so much. How, actually, let me give you an example. How Krishna, how Krishna comes into our lives when we're ready, when the opportunity comes. We hear so many stories about how devotees got in contact with Krishna consciousness. And when we really listen to some of these stories, it's magical. How Krishna makes this arrangement. I don't know if any of you have been to the Alachua temple and seen the deities in Alachua. They're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they're just so gorgeous. And the devotees they even go out and buy, some of the pujaris go out and buy their own flowers for. Anyway, so one day, a little story, one day I'm in the temple room, there's another the lady devotee in the temple room, and the curtain's about to open, it's really bright, there's no one else in there, and this woman walks in, never been to the temple before, and she's standing right in front of the temple, where the curtains are going to fly open. Curtain is open, and she stands there, she puts her hands on her heart, and she says, oh my God! She was about to fall over. She was so, captivated by the deities. It was overwhelming. I was standing on one side, as the other devotee Mataji. We both turned and looked at the lady and looked at each other. We both ran out opposite doors back to the kitchen to get Maha to do this thing. She came out with a plate of Maha, and there was no communication. There was no communication.
Yeah.
And we both had Maha for this lady. She stood there and she was crying. And then she explained how she got a card on Harinam. And she heard the kirtan. She wasn't particularly interested in the Lord was a little pushy with it, so she put the card in her purse. And she was in Gainesville. And then one time she was driving out to Alachua, and the card fell out on her. It wasn't even planned by her. It was Krishna's plan. The card fell out, she picked up the card, looked at it, and she was right near the temple. So she decided to come in, she parked by the temple, and she just walked in. Just at the right time when the curtains were open, happening. So it's not a material event, because it has nothing to do with it. It's Krishna's power. This woman was in a situation where she could accept that, and I'll go quicker too. I remember even myself, I was 16 in New York City, and living in a home 4 or 5 blocks from the Brooklyn Temple on Henry Street, and all I did was hear the kirtan. I didn't even hear the mantra. I heard the kirtan. It was so attractive. And then about a week later, events happened. I look at it now, I see events happen that finally got me to go to the temple in Brooklyn. I was 16. And all of a sudden, Prabhupada was there giving me a class. I mean, it's just amazing. Anyway, there's a lot more content in that. We're running over and maybe someone else has comments. But we can just, even when Prabhupada came, the magic he had, this time of coming here and being, anyway, we can see this Krishna everywhere, how magical and merciful and kind he is.
Yes.
I would as well. I completely relate to that because I did with Josh or Adam. When I did, I realized I wasn't ready for it at all. I was not ready to see or understand. Even though when I was getting my associate's degree, I saw picture of Prabhupada. I never seen the devotees, but I remember seeing it amongst other yoga magazines. It seemed like nothing to it. It still was above me. We even had Bhagavad Gita. We had 9 other books to read for one religion still above my head. I opened it and moved it. I wasn't ready to actually consume and be ready. It was all the right time. And the other point is, not giving up, with distractions, with everything. Mine is very strong, going around with your life now, not giving up. Be resilient, I think is really, really important because you could be taken away very, very fast. And so that thing that was really, really great point, so many great points, with it, stay steady in that, no matter what. It's really worth the service.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Hopefully the comments all get picked up with this microphone.
We'll start really passing.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. So it's because there's a few devotees here, but over the next couple of days, what experience has been, we may get 30 or 40 more who are listening, and I've seen that the comments and the questions don't really come through well, and that's a very important part of the class.
We'll start passing around.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And tomorrow is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day. He usually yes. And then because it's Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day, we'll do something in the morning about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. I've got a book about him, so we'll read something from that. And in the evening, not the evening, the middle of the day, noontime, that we have a Pushpanjali ceremony for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta for tomorrow. Okay.